senior ones, you're welcome to Peko Virtual School. And yes, hope where you are, you have the best time, either an evening or an morning, whatever it is. Wish you the best. For us, we are still surviving here where we are. And it is biology. Your teacher is Kizito Julius. Well, we are still looking at diversity of living things, but we are looking at part 3. This is our 3rd lesson. If you miss the first one, make sure that you get it from either your colleagues or from us. Our contacts are here. You can always get in touch, and then we get you a copy that you missed. Well, last time we looked at cells. Do you remember what a cell is? If you cannot define it so well, I do urge you to go back to your notes and then you check. I give you a second. Okay, let them be 2. Check. What is a cell? Can you imagine that you looked at the plant and then the animal cell? Are you looking at their shapes? Okay. Now today we want to look at some common animal cells. The first one is where you have red blood cells. Red blood cells. These are specified to transport oxygen and carbon dioxide in the body. In the body. Change this to in the body. Okay. And here we are. We can see these are so many red blood cells. And when you look at them, they look like a donut, but without a hole through. Okay, so we say they are biconcave. This depression here, the depression there, you can say depression here like a saucer. You can even put your soup there. So that they are too tiny. But assuming they were large enough, you would even put food there. So that depression increases the surface area over which materials are transported from one part of the body to another. Okay, our second cell we want to mention today is a sperm cell. Sperm cell. And the sperm cell is a male gamete produced by testes of males, not girls. So that's why you call it the male gamete. If they are men, we say male gametes. Okay, and that's how they look like. They have a big head, and in front here they are sharp as if it is a spear. And then somewhere there they have the middle piece and the neck somewhere, and then a tail behind. So they move in that wave-like structure. Okay, are you seeing the wave-like structure? Ooh, 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 and then they are moving in this direction. It is not necessarily true that all the time they will be moving in that direction. They can move in that direction. They can move in that direction. They can move towards you, downwards. Okay, but now this is what you want. You can see that wave motion when they are moving. Those are sperms or the male gametes. A sperm is actually a cell. 3, we have the ovum. Ovums, if they are many, they are ova. One is an ovum. An ovum is also known as an egg, and this is a female gamete, and they are produced from ovaries. So the boys have the sperms. When they are mature, the sperms will form, and then the girls, the eggs will form. But when you talk about eggs, people say, which language is that? Can girls have eggs? Yes. Okay, but normally known as the ova. If there are many, one is ovum. And this is how one looks like. So you have the yolk inside, and then a membrane surrounding it. This is now for an animal. For a human being like you, or your sister if you're a girl, if you're a boy. But now, our friends the birds, For them now they have this, and this is what we call actually an egg. Okay, now birds, reptiles like snakes, lizards, the geckos, for them what happens? Their eggs or the ova, they're surrounded by the shell. This is now a shell. You can see the yolk. Now the moment you see this, okay, now for human beings and other animals, they don't have the shell. That's why their eggs look like this. So the eggs of the cows are like this, meaning that they only have a yolk, which yolk is surrounded by a thin membrane. You can see the thin membrane around the yolk. So this, now we are seeing the yolk, but now in birds, I said, and reptiles, okay, what happens? The yolk will be surrounded by the shell. The shell protects the inner part from drying, because these eggs are laid outside. These ones remain inside the female one. We look at our fourth cell, and these are white blood cells. Actually, they may not necessarily look white, but when you look at the external part of it, they almost look white, and their function in the body is to defend the body against diseases. So sometimes they have told you that your immunity is low. So the ability of your body to release white blood cells has become low. That means that infections can easily attack you. They can easily attack me. Why? Because my defense system, the body system that defends me against diseases, has weakened. How do they look like? Now, you can see that the surrounding part of them is almost, this is not white. These ones have been stained. We have stained them for you so that you can see. But the cell passes there, 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 and there. This one is there, and there, and there. Then this part that has been stained, this one is the nucleus. So this is the nucleus. So this is the nucleus of another cell. This is the nucleus of another cell. But you can see where the membrane passes. Okay, you can see where the membrane passes. Okay, our intention of staining them is to you to get to know how these cells now will engulf, will surround and eat the disease-causing agents that come in your body. Okay, we also have nerve cells, and these transport nerve. This is nerve, N E R V E, nerve, N E R V E. So they transport nerve information from one part of the body to the other. Just look at one nerve cell. There's a cell body here, dendrites, the node of Zanvia, Lanvia, the axon, and then you have dendrites this side. You may have seen this in your primary, and let alone you see this in your senior 4 in the years to come. Okay, why don't we look at the plant cells? There are also many, but we are going to look at 1 or 2, 3, 4. A few examples. This is what I'm saying. Our first example, we have the root hair. Root hair. And now the root hairs absorb water and mineral salts from the soil. Okay, this is what we're saying. We have our seed germinating, we have our root that has grown, and then you can see the hairs, the tiny roots that are coming off. This is what we call the root hairs. This is Peco Virtual School. Thank you very much for using our material. Please don't fail to contact us in the case of challenges, and if you have questions, do the same. Our contacts are here. They are also on WhatsApp. Okay, they're here. Use WhatsApp, let us know, and we shall really appreciate to come back to you to have a discussion with you and then to put things right. And as I said earlier on, that don't be mean. Share this material with your friends and please encourage them to get back to us for help in the case of any query. 2, we want to look at the palisade cells. Now, we have a section through the leaf, and if you have a cuticle on top, you have the palisade cells if there are many below, and you can see that for them they are elongated, they are more elongated, and they are packed onto each other. Okay, they are packed onto each other so as to increase the surface area for trapping sunlight. And you can see that they have these dot-like structure. These ones, these are not dots, these are the chloroplasts. Actually, they have very many chloroplasts, and that is for photosynthesis, trapping light for photosynthesis. Do we have any other plant cells? Yes, the parenchyma. Write the word rightly. Parenchyma cells. Okay, now when cells combine, they form tissues. We are going to leave the parenchyma cells, but to understand it best, well, the parenchyma cells are almost like this. Okay, we need to look at them soon. Now, when the cells combine, they form tissues so that they can perform specific functions. Do you know what a tissue is? Can we look at some common tissues? We have blood, we have bones, we have muscles. Now we want to look at some of these things again, because if I say parenchyma cells, if I say tissues, you really get confused. What are they? What is the difference between tissues and then the cells? When you talk about blood, and then you talked about red blood cells, now we are talking about bones and then muscles, you really get confused. And that's what we want to look at again in detail. Look at the parenchyma cells. When you look at the parenchyma cells, for them they are packed, and you can see that for them they really don't have the chloroplast, and that means that if they are packed, then that means that they're going to make the plant strong. They give extra support to the plant. Okay, they give it strength. So now if it is the same, if it is a leaf, it cannot easily break. These are the parenchyma cells, and if you look at them, they actually don't have spaces in between them. They don't even have the same shape, different shapes, so that they cover up all the spaces. Okay, this is what we say, and we want to look at now the different things. The blood, we are going to look at now. Blood. Okay, this is what we are saying, that when cells combine, now that you get so many cells, put them together, then you are going to form what we call tissue. Okay, so now this tissue can perform a specific function. A question that can be posed is simple: what is a tissue? You can briefly say a tissue is a combination of cells. The tissue we want to look at first is blood, and more tissue. Blood. You may have got a stain like this before. Some of you are saying it looks miserable. Yeah, but that is blood. Now, why are we saying that blood is a tissue? Because it has so many cells in it. It has white blood cells, which we looked at earlier on. It also has red blood cells that we started with. Okay, so that it has got white blood cells and red blood cells in it, then it is a tissue. By the way, for information, blood may be, in fact, let me say, it is the only known fluid tissue. Only tissue that is known that is in a fluid state. I don't want to use the word liquid, but it is in a fluid state. Blood. We look at another. We have bones. You were given a definition in primary which I don't want to go with. A framework of bones. Well, makes up a skeleton. But a skeleton now will be a different thing as you advance with the biology. But let me show you the bones that we have. Now, the bones have so many cells that have come together to form the bones. Oh, that's where you are. Okay? Okay, those are the bones. Many of these bones, each of them has very many cells. So each of them becomes a tissue. Even this small part of the finger is a tissue. The rib is a tissue. This long one becomes a tissue on its own, because each of them has very many cells. Okay. We have also muscles as an example of tissues. Some of you, when you look at muscles, you say, yeah. My daughter, after watching football, sometimes she shouts, yeah, and have you done that? As you yell, and what happens? The muscles now, yes. Especially the boys, you like the muscles like that. Okay, so all these muscles that we are seeing here, these ones, here, okay, those muscles are there because so many cells came together to form them. So they are tissues. Do you remember what is a tissue? A combination of cells. Okay? Cells come together to perform specific what? Function. You can see when they contract or when they relax, then the function comes on the hand. This is just one of the many examples that we want to talk about today. Okay. Now, what is an organ? Now, when tissues combine, they are going to form an organ. What is an organ? A combination of many tissues that come together to perform a specific function. Can I repeat that? What is an organ? A combination of many tissues that have come together to form or to perform a specific function. Okay. An eye, a human eye, a body's eye. So long as you are talking about an eye, it becomes an organ. Okay? Look at this eye. Can you identify these ones? This is now primary science. Do you see the muscles here? Do you see this? To allow light to go through. Pupil. I don't know if it is pupil or pupil. Aha. So this is an eye, human eye, and it is an organ. Which other organ do you know? The ear. Okay. An ear like this. You have an ear, so you can see the external ear. You may not need to know the names. These are now for your own communication when you are talking to people out there. But an ear like this is an organ. Any other organ? The tongue. Have you ever looked at your tongue? Can you push it out of your mouth? Do you have a mirror? Have you ever looked at it? If you have a young sister or a young brother, do that. Ask him or her to show you the tongue. Do you want to see mine? Okay, the tongue like that. This is the tongue. So the tongue itself is actually an organ of its own. Very good. Okay, we move on. What about the stomach? Now the challenge comes in here. Can you touch your stomach? I said touch your stomach. Have you actually touched your stomach? I was talking to my son of recent and asked him to touch the stomach, and he did exactly what you are doing. That's what he did. But can that be the stomach? Scientifically, biologically, that is wrong. So you don't know where the stomach is. Some of you now are laughing at yourselves. And actually, this that you are seeing here, this part here, is an abdomen. So you touch the abdomen. My son touched the abdomen. So what about the stomach? The stomach is this. That sac where food goes as you swallow it. That is the stomach. And actually, you have never seen your stomach. Never feel like seeing your stomach. Because by the time you see it, you'll be dead. It is inside. The stomach is inside the abdomen. And that's why I said you never got the point correctly. Okay, so this is the stomach. The stomach is an organ. Do plants also have organs? Yes. They have roots. And then remember, these are roots. You may have seen this in the forest, around your home, as you visit your grandparents. Some of you as you watch TV. So roots like this make up organs of a plant. What is an organ? Do you remember that? Okay. We have leaves as our second point. Our first point, there were roots. So we have leaves. The fact is, you must have seen a leaf. If you have never seen a leaf, switch off your TV, go and sleep, or go and do other things. There are so many leaves. Not all leaves that have this shape. Others are having that shape. Some of you have matoka around. The leaves are many. You have sugar canes, you have pasparum in the compound. Oh, these are leaves. Okay? Those are organs. We have stems. Again, you may have eaten a sugar cane. Now we have the stem. And you cannot, it is so hard to differentiate a stem from the root. They almost, from the leaves, they almost move together. So you have the node, another node there, and in between you have an internode. Okay, and now this is what we call the stem. The stem was moving upwards. How many nodes are we seeing here? 1, 2 nodes of the stem. Some nodes are visible, other nodes are not visible. Now when organs combine, this is now where you are. When organs combine, they form systems. Do you remember that science? We talked about cells that same. We said cells combine to form tissues. Tissues combine to form organs. And now we are saying organs combine to form systems. Okay? Which systems do you know? Some common animal systems. We have the digestive system. Some of you, when you talk about the digestive system, you start salivating. You feel like eating food. Okay, have you ever seen it? Something like that. So as you eat the food comes down like that. You remember I talked about the stomach, okay, as an organ. That means that you have the colon, you have the duodenum, you have the ileum. Now these are different what? These are different organs. But now when they combine now together, they are going to form a system. So we call it a digestive system. And when you talk about the digestive system, even the liver comes in here, because digestion cannot take place without the liver. The pancreas also comes in, and these are different organs. Actually, the liver is the biggest organ in the body. You can see how big it is. 2, we have excretory system, and you have here the kidneys, one kidney there, another kidney there, and then when urine is formed, urine comes down there to the urinary bladder. This one now qualifies to be an organ of itself. This one is an organ of itself. And now you have so many organs here, then you can, many means more than one, then that means that the whole of this qualifies to be a system. Not forgetting that the organs now down here depends on who you are. If you're a girl, you have an organ which is different from the boys. The boys may have another organ connected here, and you have the penis. You also may have the testes, and now then you see the number is increasing, and I'm mentioning 2 more, and then the 2 that we have been mentioning here earlier on. Then you have 4 organs that actually make up this system in the boys. And then in the girls, what do you have that will make the system qualify to be a system? The fact is, as you talk about the excretory system, think about the organ that you have that make up the excretory system. There should be more than one. Okay, the reproductive system. Now when you talk about the reproductive system, I know people are imagining now which organs are making up this system. Okay, if you are boys, are saying now, how do this system will look like? How do they look like in the boys? I mean the girls. And if you're a girl, how do they look like in the boys? So you have so many fantasies that you are in senior 1, but we go slowly. Don't rush. And let me show you the reproductive system. Which one do you want to see first? Why did you say girls? In the girls, why did you say the one for the boys? But either way, we have to look at them. Okay, there we are. We have the reproductive system of the females. Okay, so you have the fallopian tube, which qualifies to be organs of their own. You have the ovary that qualifies to be organs of their own. You have the uterus. Now a uterus is like a bag, and this has an ability to extend that direction, and then to extend also towards you. Actually, you can have this distance from here to there extending up to 30 centimeters. You can look at your ruler and see it can extend up to 30 centimeters. Now when the egg that we looked at earlier on comes from here, or an ovum, it goes into the fallopian tube and then moves into the uterus, and it can move out, or fertilization can take place around the fallopian tube, and then we grow from here, from the uterus inside here. This is the housing where the baby grows from. And now for the boys, what happens? Well, you do have the penis, and you have the testes that we talked about earlier on. So once the sperms are formed from here, they have to move all this far, they come out all this far. You have heard people talk about the prostatic glands that are also here. Okay, so the prostatic glands, once they are affected, you have heard people talk about the prostate cancer and so on. So they tend to enlarge than normal, and then the urine can also pass from there, and then it goes out from what you call the urinary bladder. So you can see that the system is so complicated in there than in there. There are so many organs that are here that make up the system in the boys than in the girls. The girls, they are also organs. You have an organ there, you have an organ there, you have an organ there, you have another organ down there. By the way, there is also an organ here. The cells here make up an organ, and you have had people suffering from the cervical cancer. So usually these muscles here are the one that will get affected. As you have the cervical cancer, people talk about the prostate cancer when these ones enlarge. And I think that's that. But you can also see that you have an organ there, there's an organ there, there's an organ there, there's an organ there, and then you have all these ones. Okay, so this is for the boys and this is for the girls. I think now what we are pondering over, what we are thinking over has been solved. That's what happens. And you actually looked at this in primary school, and we are only emphasizing a point that we wish many of you become doctors after picking the interest in this biology. Okay, what about the coordination system? So you do have many nerve cells. You talked about the nerve cells, and they are connected to, you have the brain somewhere here, the cranial nerves. So we have the brain, and you do have so many of these organs, and then they are also coordinating. We are calling it a coordination system because they coordinate through the brain or the spinal cord, and then you react depending on what you have. Well, when we look at the plants, you have the root system, and you also have the shoot system. Unfortunately, plants don't have complicated systems like we do have in animals. For them, the systems are only two: the root system and then the shoot system, which was part of your primary science, and we don't want to waste time with us, but only to remind you, well, when systems combine, then they are going to form a living thing. Which living thing are you thinking about? Can you have a mention of them? Mention as many living things as you can, okay, so long as you are not going to offend the others. Can you please also write down the names of those living things, because this is where our interest is for our next lesson, as we are going to use that to classify the living things. So try to get as many names as you can from your parents using the local languages. You can ask your grandparents if they are around, so that you get to know the English name and then the local name. It is not bad also to write as many other names of other languages that you know. Well, this is a PECO Virtual School. Thank you very much for attending to our lesson 3 for biology. Next week we'll look at serious classification. How do we classify living things? People from Central, you know, they say tambula ng'omuganda, never walk. They mean something. Where did it come from? Did you copy the biology, or the biology copied you? Well, the biology has been there for many years, but that's what you're going to use for classification. Those who have clans, find out why you have clans, and how is this applicable in life. Bye bye as for